Joe Biden pardoned you and a number of people who he thought Trump would go after.
No, I take the opposite view. I don't think he should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think he should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole committee.
Greg Gutfeld and Adam Schiff have clearly reached their limit, going all out with no restraint, no gentle jabs, no subtle critiques. Schiff pursued the idea of Russian collusion like it was the crime of the century, dragging the nation through years of convoluted theories and tangled speculation. Picture a detective in a low-budget mystery waving flimsy, questionable documents as if they were priceless artifacts, as spinning elaborate tales as though they were carved in stone. But now, the veil has been lifted. The reality is undeniable and it's grim. Even his own allies are turning against him, leaving him exposed. It's like watching a pack of ravenous dogs turn on the very man they once admired.
And Schiff hasn't blinked since 1992. And he didn't take the news so well. The disgraced Democrat went on TikTok to complain. Behold.
This time, the spotlight lands on a smooth talker who seems to have finally run out of clever moves. Gutfeld's quick-witted jabs tore apart Schiff's carefully polished image piece by piece until only a scattered mess of credibility was left behind. The scene felt wild, sharp remarks flying, dramatic eye rolls that nearly sent cameras shaking, and political barbs shooting in every direction. This wasn't just criticism. It played out like a real-time public unraveling right in front of the audience. And no, this wasn't a fantasy. That was Adam Schiff being openly challenged by Bill Maher on national television. Honestly, major networks like CNN or MSNBC would likely steer clear of airing that moment unless they were ready for backlash. Schiff clung to his storyline with relentless determination, pushing it harder than a network stretching out the final season of its biggest show. He wouldn't let it go, day or night, weekdays, weekends, even time off. And for what? In the end, it all collapsed in dramatic fashion, leaving behind a lot of noise but no solid proof to show for it.
When Adam Schiff, with some troubling news. Today, Kevin McCarthy removed me from the House Intelligence Committee, all for doing my job, for holding Trump accountable and standing up to the extreme MAGA Republic.
There was no apology when the truth was eventually exposed. There is no accountability. The only sound in the quiet is the chirping of political crickets. The audience froze as Maher leaned closer and said, "What exactly have you done for America, Adam Schiff?" With that icy $1 million stomach shot. It wasn't a query. The sentence was made public. Then Greg Gutfeld interfered with his own firestorm and set Schiff on fire in retaliation for his significant part in the mayhem and instability that defined the co-era. Rather than only taking a jab, he demolished the edifice brick by brick. At a time when America sorely needed direct cures, Greg Gutfeld lamented how Schiff's political antics fueled the discontent. This was hardly a courteous exchange. This was the wrecking ball of prime time. When the nation was on the verge of a major health emergency and the virus was slipping through the gaps, what was Adam Schiff doing? That is nothing urgent.
We want to tell people what we're going to do for them. Healthcare, environment, those kind of issues. For example, I've seen you on TV a lot in the last couple of years. I know everything you know, or that you tell us, about the Russian situation. I don't have a clue what you think about healthcare. I've never heard it. I don't know whether you're for Medicare for all, or improve Obamacare, or get a chicken.
Like a teenager engrossed in a complex conspiracy theory, he was just overwhelmed by his curiosity with impeachment. Instead of preparing the country for the impending storm, he continued to draw attention to his never-ending political circus, one meaningless query after another. To keep the circus running, they are all providing the media with just enough raw bombshells. In the meantime, the nation was about to experience a worldwide emergency. Gutfeld didn't hesitate to act. The small-time personal score settling that motivated Schiff at all was cut off, his warped priorities were inflamed, and his purported legitimacy was tarnished. The knockout followed next. It was a question that cut right through the political discourse. Who would deceive a whole country in order to exact his own retribution? It wasn't a jab. A political career might be crippled for weeks following such a defeat. It's incredible that Adam Schiff can still navigate the corridors of power while upholding his reputation. This is the same man who used stage tactics, smoke, and a poker face to lead the world's most powerful nation for years. However, there was not a single reprimand, public tongue-lashing, official sanction, or slap on the wrist.
Adam Schiff. Because he created 3 years
a massive fallacy that did so much damage to this country and made us miss probably one of the most important stories of our lifetime. We were having hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was
Greg Gutfeld claims that no one supports handcuffing shift workers. Let's face it, though. The man owes America something. He must, at minimum, take a hard stance, confront this nation, and offer a sincere apology. It was an upfront and honest acknowledgement that he was the mastermind of one of the largest political circuses of our time, rather than the polished smile and hazy grief of an experienced politician. Schiff was not merely a politician. He wasted public dollars like they were board game play money while dragging an entire country through years of smoke, mirrors, and TV hysteria. Every element of it, the never-ending investigations, the screaming headlines, the theatrical grandstanding, was focused on gaining political points rather than helping the people who elected him. This is unquestionably true. That type of dishonesty is not something you can disregard, praise yourself on the back, and go on. The years lost cannot be made up for with an apology. It won't restore the confidence he damaged. Schiff's removal from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence was justified by Speaker McCarthy. It wasn't just a seat opening. A long-running circus show in Washington, D.C. was canceled. For years, Schiff used what ought to have been a position of integrity as a platform for headline-grabbing theatrics, smokescreens, and political stunts. With that camera-ready smile, he lost the public's trust.
on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding. We talked about that virus in green rooms, but we had to do this impeachment story. We had to show these hearings. It's all on him, man. He's got to go. They got to investigate him. They got to hold him accountable. I'm not going to say he should go to prison, but my evil twin will say he should go away to prison for a very long time.
Pretending that everything was just a straightforward error. He has his sights set on the Senate seat in California as if it were his next big disappearing act rather than pausing to consider the destruction he has left behind. Let's be honest, though. He will enter that meeting with the same questionable theatrics, the same sleight of hand, and the same fervor for maintaining his status, if history is any guide. Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher didn't mince words. Before he does, they witness a well-known man enter the room. It's also not the kind that merits praise. Schiff has made it quite evident that he is in it for the show rather than the service, from promoting meaningless collusion bombshells to using national security as his personal playground. California deserves more than a career spotlight seeker who consistently prioritizes party above morality and self-interest over the people he is meant to represent. Not only hinted to by Bill Maher, he just spelled it out. For a state that is beginning to get tired of performance politics, Schiff is too radical. His tone, polished remarks, and professional politician shine make him easy to detect, even though he doesn't always shout slogans from the rooftops. You can tell exactly where he stands without ever having the courage to speak it aloud because to that flawless, fluid speech. Let's face it, Schiff has no trouble collaborating with the awakened side of the Democratic Party when it suits him.
Schiff got kicked to the curb, and the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for Texas. He unveiled the highly polished and produced political ad right on the heels of getting booted from the House Intel Committee. Coincidence? I think not.
When the contentious issue of transgender athletes in women's sports arose, Schiff didn't offer a simple yes or no. Instead, he twisted and dodged on live television like a seasoned performer of political evasion, delivering a rehearsed non-answer with "I'm with them" to avoid taking responsibility. This approach highlights a larger problem. To avoid backlash from social media critics, Schiff and leaders like him sidestep controversial issues, leaving voters, especially Californians, frustrated for clarity and honesty rather than polished talking points. Maher quickly spotted the tactic and didn't hesitate to call him out. This evasiveness could seriously undermine Schiff's Senate bid as voters increasingly value authenticity, boldness, and directness over vague promises and predictable ideology. Enter Greg Gutfeld, who launched a sharp, no-nonsense critique, systematically dismantling Schiff's Senate proposal and exposing it as little more than a glossy brochure for tired political ambitions. Gutfeld's takedown wasn't just a shift in tone, it was a full-on spotlight that left Schiff's proposals vulnerable before they could gain any traction.
They put out an article last year and it was called Separating Sports by Doesn't Make Sense. And talked about how we separate sports like the WNBA and everything just because it's just socialization. This is insane.
I agree.
Okay. That's why people vote for Trump. Mm-hmm. Because there's stuff like that on the left that people just go, I know Trump's horrible, but separating by sports makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And if you think it doesn't, you can.
Put the jokes aside. This wasn't about humor. This was a firm, unmistakable line in the sand. America doesn't need more career politicians chasing power. It needs adults in leadership, people willing to take risks, speak honestly, and make tough decisions without hiding behind party talking points. The nation requires strong, principled voices who won't excuse political hit jobs under the banner of loyalty. Where are the courageous leaders actually working to strengthen national security, tackle inflation, or fix the broken immigration system? You won't find them, only silence. Schiff's career highlights are filled with political stunts, sound bites, and headline-grabbing spectacles, but real accomplishments are scarce. Press conferences and partisan grandstanding dominate his record, keeping his name visible while offering little tangible benefit to the public he's supposed to serve. Gutfeld's critique didn't just bruise Schiff's ego, it sent a national wake-up call. America must demand leaders who deliver results, not performers who thrive on drama. The country doesn't need another cable news star prepping for their next spotlight. It needs builders, not bomb throwers, leaders willing to confront problems rather than chase partisan headlines. The stakes are only getting higher. Rumors out of Washington suggest some of President Biden's recent pardons may not have been personally signed. If true, this raises serious questions about the legitimacy of executive actions that follow. And as for Schiff, he received a pardon. Pause and think about that headline. It's a stark reminder that America needs leadership grounded in accountability and real governance, not spectacle.
Pop their dentures when Schiff finally gets censored. And so the House condemns the lies of the man with the zombie eyes. Last night, the House voted on party lines to censure Adam Schiff for promoting the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, which was as believable as Brian Kilmeade getting fan mail. 2 for 2. Schiff becomes only the 26th member ever to be censured, but to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12.
If it turns out that the signature is dubious, counterfeit, or the result of yet another backroom political handshake, the get-out-of-jail card is thrown away. That goes beyond mere theatrics. That kind of legal maze could wreck his escape plan before it ever reaches the table. And if that occurs, Schiff could have to fulfill the duty he has been delaying for years. Poor documentation and dubious political favors should never be a way out of trouble in a nation where everyone is supposed to be subject to the law. A ghost-written pardon shouldn't be able to protect Schiff if he truly exploited his position. The American people should have leaders who are protected by their moral integrity rather than depending on the autographs of political ghosts. Even while the VIP section gets away with it, justice cannot be given exclusively to the small-timers. Bill Maher didn't even slow down. He continued to escalate the conflict with Max, calling out Schiff's obvious hypocrisy and criticizing him for only expressing anger when it suited his political goals. Maher was very clear about it. If Schiff's moral compass isn't directed toward his favorite talking points, it won't shift. For instance, Schiff suddenly developed political amnesia when questioned about a judge who had been arrested for assisting an illegal immigrant in getting past ICE. There was only a hazy shrug, as if he didn't understand what anyone was saying, and no outbursts of anger or demands for justice. The worst thing is this: Schiff would have been on television before breakfast, holding a press conference, giving a theatrical statement, and waving around a stack of shocking claims like props in a political play if that same study had even hinted at Russia. However, since it didn't fit his preferred narrative, there was complete radio silence. One scenario is the Adam Schiff dilemma, to put it briefly. Demand outrage and vacation accountability. Schiff doesn't seek the truth. In order to extract every detail from the tried and true narrative of Russian participation, he actively seeks out the headlines that support his plan.
Senator Schiff, given the ongoing political tensions and Trump's actions toward his critics, do you think President Biden's preemptive pardons turned out to be more important than initially expected? Let's first tell people what that means. Preemptive pardons. That was pretty unprecedented, right? Before he left office, Joe Biden pardoned you and a number of people who he thought Trump would go after.
No, I take the opposite view. I don't think he should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think he should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole.
When it comes to following his favorite stories, Schiff has the endurance of a marathon runner. However, he becomes completely silent when a real legal issue arises, such as when a judge is arrested for aiding an illegal immigrant in avoiding ICE. No hurry, no fury. This is only a man's uncomfortable silence as he avoids confronting reality. Bill Maher was not going to overlook that either. Maher criticized Schiff's blatant hypocrisy without holding back. This wasn't an oops or a careless error. It was a deliberate diversion, simple and uncomplicated. Americans roll their eyes at the kind of deliberate, silent, and selective outrage that occurs whenever a professional politician claims to be acting morally. The problem is that no one wants a referee who only sounds the alarm when it benefits their own team. But Schiff continued to enthrall his devoted fan following with the same heroic tale that he was expelled from the House Intelligence Committee for valiantly battling MAGA barbarians. There was no proof to support his claims. Thanks to political smoke, theatrical mirrors, and just the right amount of dramatic flair, his fans continued to think he was pursuing something enormous. He swore that the dreadful evidence for the country was always just around the corner. Here's the twist, though. There was no truth at the top of the hill. It was a precipice. Did Schiff admit when it became brutally evident that his lofty assertions were false? Did he resemble Americans? Not a possibility. That is not bravery. Clearly, it's political damage control.
The FBI came in and arrested the judge. No, I haven't heard that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever read arrested a judge. So is this significant?
Well, I think.
I'm not going to comment on something I don't know more about than what you've just told me.
You read about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I read about it, but I don't know.
So you don't trust anything either, and you work for the New York Times.
Well,
Adam Schiff's strategy hasn't changed in years. Energize his emotional base, repeat key phrases, rely on dramatic pauses, and hope no one looks too closely. The problem is, beneath the theatrics, there's nothing. No substance, no results, just hollow cliches masquerading as moral reasoning, and the facts back that up. Schiff's political playbook is tattered, frayed at the edges, and starting to feel like a dusty clearance bin relic. Division, deception, and distraction have defined his career. From denouncing debunked frauds to ignoring urgent issues like illegal immigration and declining public trust, Schiff has shown the country exactly what kind of leader he is. The mask he's worn for so long is slipping. He proves to be more illusionist than principled politician, his greatest trick always concealing the truth. Schiff's loyalty hasn't been to Californians or to accountability. It's been to his relentless climb up the political ladder. Every statement, action, and so-called revelation exists to serve that ambition. His selective outrage and glaring double standards are now being exposed by an ever-growing number of Americans, including voices like Bill, Maher, and Greg Gutfeld. After years of false narratives, the fog is lifting, revealing not a dedicated public servant, but a performer more concerned with spectacle than solutions. Like the House before it, the Senate doesn't need another stage act. What it requires is a leader willing to take on the difficult, unglamorous work of governing. And when the lights go out, the record is all that remains. Schiff's record, more than anything, reveals his real priorities. That concludes today's breakdown. If you're fed up with political spin and want the unfiltered truth every day, subscribe to Public Dissent. We deliver straight news on politics. No sugarcoating, no fluff. For the next update, join us again at Public Dissent, and don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments.